Once upon a time, two knights, Arcita and Palamon, are held in a prison high up in a tower. Emily, Theseus' sister-in-law, walks around the garden below the tower admiring the spring weather. Palamon looks out the window tower and sees the beautiful Emily down below. Arcita is curious at what Palamon is looking at.
Ah!
Why do you cry out? What is wrong?
It is not the prison that made me cry. It is the beautiful lady in the garden.
Why, I think she looks like a goddess.
Palamon thinks that Emily should be his love, while Arcita rejects this claim.
You shall not betray me, my cousin. It is I who loved her first.
You must not think about love, as we are trapped in this awful prison. How can you love when you know we are doomed? Ignore this feeling and endure the fate that was granted to us in this cell.
Years after the sighting of Emily, the knights find themselves out of prison. The two have been separated as Arcita was allowed to leave many years before Palamon. Palamon overhears Arcita talking about Emily and how he has abandoned his old self. Palamon jumps out of hiding and threatens Arcita of being a traitor.
I loved her first and told you all my woe.
I tell you utterly, for part or more, I loved her first. What can you say? You know not even now whether she is a woman or goddess.
We shall fight to prove that I am thy worthiest for the lady's hand.
That is bold to say, so draw your sword and we shall end this now.
They agree to duel for the love of Emily. In order to have a venue for the fight, Theseus creates an amphitheater. In the amphitheater, Theseus has many altars for the gods where one can pray for their guidance and help. Before the battle begins, the two knights pray to different gods in order to receive their blessings. Palamon prays to Venus.
O Venus, most beautiful of all, have pity on my bitter tears and hear my humble prayer. No words are enough to speak of the hell I'm living. I'm struggling to know what to do next, but I ask you to be beside me and use your power with love to give me Emily. Although Mars is the god of war, your power, Venus, is greater in heaven, and my final support will be of you as I die. I pray that you curse Arcita so that I might have Emily. She is everything, and I am nothing without her. Grant me this gift of love, O Venus.
Emily prays to Diana.
Oh, Diana, goddess of the wilderness, save me from the wrath of unwelcome love. Save me from a life given to a man, and save me from the child I must bear as a woman. I do not crave the touch of a man or the emotion shared between. I desire to be a virgin my whole life, and I am satisfied in none beside my own company. I pray you would help to turn the faces of Palamon and Arcita away from love and towards reason that will end their fight. I pray you would turn their faces away from me, and so that they will seek out another more willing than I. Since thou art a virgin, would you hold your blessings over me to remain a virgin, so that I may serve you all of my life?
And Diana responds to Emily.
My daughter, I'm sorry, but you must leave this burden behind you. The fates have decreed that one of these chaotic men that bring you such struggle will have to be your husband. But I cannot tell you who. I can no longer dwell here with you, but what will come of your love is up to you.
Arcita prays to Mars.
Almighty Mars, God of war and God of strength, I pray that you would respond to my small sacrifice with a victory tomorrow. I pray that you would think of your feelings toward Venus and the pain and calling it had upon you. I pray your power and grace would grant me victory over my adversary, leading me into the arms of a waiting love.
Victory.
Saturn has his own plans for the fight and declares that Palamon will be the winner.
My dear Venus, I have a strong part to play in these events. My power is from the depths and the darkness that we all face. My power is over death. I bring the mighty to their knees. I tumble high towers to crush those inside. Weep no more, for Palamon shall have his bride. Count on it. Mars might help his man, but in the end, I am your grandsire, and I will follow your will, O mighty Venus.
With everything set and ready for the battle, Theseus stands to explain the rules of the fight.
In order that no man die, no arrow, pole axe, or shortened knife shall be used. You shall only use the sword provided. Go forth now, and fight with all thy might.
The battle begins, and although Palamon fights hard, Arcita pins him to the ground. Theseus pronounces Arcita the winner.
Hold! No more! For it is done. Arcita shall have Emily, who by his fortune has her fairly won.
Venus and Saturn disagree with the outcome of the fight.
Now I am ashamed.
My daughter, hold your tongue. Mars has his will, his night all his boon, and by my head you shall be eased and soon.
Arcita is overjoyed by the victory and mounts his horse for a victory ride around the amphitheater. Before too long, his horse is startled by the will of Venus and Saturn and begins to buck and eventually throws him off, crushing Arcita's chest in the process. As Arcita lies there dying, he shares his last wishes, that Emily takes Palamon as a husband.
Emily, my love, I have here with my cousin Palamon had strife, but I know of none so worthy to be loved as Palamon, who serves you and will do so all his life. And if you shall ever become a wife, forget not Palamon, the noble man.
With these last words, Arcita dies. All of Athens mourns the death of Arcita, but no one mourns the death like Emily and Palamon.
No! Death was not the solution to my conflict. How will sorrow help to cure my feelings of love? What price is worth such an immoral cause? No love should be brought by death. As shall I death.
The funeral is prepared and all of Athens attends, dressed in black to mourn together. Years pass, and the wounds made by Arcita's death begin to heal, but two people in particular still go around sorrowfully wearing black, Palamon and Emily. Emily and Palamon are now married.
Palamon, do you take Emily as your lawful wife?
I do.
Emily, do you take Palamon as your lawful husband?
I do.
I now pronounce you husband and wife.
unseen.